Hello. Welcome to Indigenous Astrology. My name is Pamela Jones, and I want to speak to you about Indigenous Astrology. Indigenous Astrology is an astrology that is in alignment with the earth, its frequency, its vibration, its consciousness, and it promotes harmony and peace among all the earth's inhabitants, as well as the cosmos. So we want to be in alignment with the peace, because that's what it's really all about now. Let's decrease the war energy and increase the peace energy. So in today's topic, I'm going to talk to you about the planets. And the planets represent psychological drives. They represent our motivations, and they almost relate to characters in a play. They have almost like a personality, these energies, and these vital energies are in charge of various departments in our lives. So we'll start with the sun. The sun. The sun is a star. It is our nourisher. It is our source of light. It's our source of heat. It gives us energy in the form of chlorophyll, which feeds us in nutrients. Without the sun, there would really be no earth, or at least the earth that we would recognize. And so the sun, being the powerful star that it is considered, particularly in the West, our main source of our power, our energy, our will. And we classify ourselves according to the sun sign, the sun traveling in the constellation at the time that we were born. So the sun has a energy that points to our meaning and purpose in our lives. The sun is an energy that is associated with nobility and with courage. It is associated with the king. It is associated with royalty, with leadership. These are all the elements of the sun. Now, there are other planetary that we need to recognize and understand. The next major heavenly body is the moon. The moon is a satellite of the earth. It's much, much smaller than the sun, but due to an illusion, the sun and the moon often seems like the same size. And so the moon is very prominent in our lives. It represents reactions, emotions. It represents the subconscious. It is the light during the time that we know as night and darkness. And the moon was originally our first source of time, our timekeeper. The moon is very, very much an influence in our lives, starting with the tides. The tides are regulated by the moon. And so, due to the fluctuations of the moon, from a new moon to a full moon and back again, we have stronger tides at full moons and lesser tides during waning moons. And that can make the difference whether we have a major rainstorm that includes floods or something that is just a drizzle. A lot of times it's affected by the moon. And the moon also represents our mothers. It actually represents our ambitions and our calling and our vocation. The moon is a tale or tattletale sign about our emotional state. For some people, they go through many phases during the day. They can seem very moody or anxiety or impatient. And that's due to the fluctuating and changeability nature of the moon. Then we go on to the planet. the planet Mercury, which is the first planet coming past the sun. And actually, it's very, very close to the sun. You often can't even see it without specialized telescopes. But the Mercury is associated with travel and with communication, with speech, with thought. And it moves around very fast. There's a time, and in fact there's 4 times during the year when we have what they call Mercury retrograde. And Mercury retrograde is a time when things that deal with communications, with the finalization of contracts, major projects such as movies, anything that depends on Mercury, on transportation, on anything dealing with writing, there's oftentimes a slowdown or even a mix-up. Oftentimes people forget things or lose things during the time of Mercury retrograde. Usually it's very routine things. Sometimes people can't find their glasses or they can't find their keys. Whatever it is, there's usually some time when there is a whole element where things do not go smoothly. Mercury retrograde. But it's an excellent time to research and to find long lost things. But in terms of going ahead in business, it's often advised to wait. Wait before you sign that important contract until Mercury settles down. Now, the next planet we have to deal with is Venus. Venus is the planet of beauty and harmony, and it has a lot to do with our creative skills and our sense of affection and our love of good things is all Venus. Venus has a lot to do with beauty and adornment and grace and style, and just applying grace, style, and beauty to whatever endeavor, whatever area in your life. That's usually a Venusian, Venus kind of thing that Venus likes to get involved with. Venus is associated with women. Oftentimes for a man, the position of Venus in their chart represents the kind of woman that they're very much attracted to on a physical level. And that's very important for them. So Venus has a lot to do with your love life and your creativity. And the next planet up is Mars. Mars is the warrior planet. Mars is the instinctual driven planet. It has a lot to do with people's aggressiveness, assertiveness, their sense of competition or cooperation. Mars energy is associated with building, with soldiers, with security. Mars is a very manipulated energy, particularly at this time, because there's so much going on with anger. Mars is associated with anger and impatience. And so the temper of Mars is something that has to be disciplined and organized and focused, because Mars is so important, but Mars carried away can bring an awful lot of problems and sorrow, because it's an impulsiveness. It moves without thinking, and that's what Mars has to watch out for. The next planet up is Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of optimism and cheerfulness, and it is a planet that is associated with religion and travel, particularly short-term travel, brothers and sisters. Jupiter has a lot to do with the law and with social graces, social benefits, the larger society. So Jupiter is a planet that you want to have in your, be on the good side, because it can bring you many, many benefits. Now the next planet up is Saturn. Saturn is a planet that deals with structure and organization. And as a matter of fact, Saturn in the body is associated with the bones, with teeth, So it's the harder parts of our body, but it's the structure. And Saturn can be a taskmaster. Saturn is very much a disciplinarian, and it's challenging you that you must learn the lessons that it puts in front of you, and won't pass you until you know these lessons and can do them accordingly. Saturn is another planet that we encounter, particularly a time when they call the Saturn return, which happens for most people between 28 and 30. They usually are doing something very significant at that time. Marriage, divorce, having children, moving away. Something that brings them out of their normal, or they come into their full sense of their adulthood at their time. They step away from their parental mindset and how they do things and start to establish themselves on their own. So this is the first portion of the planets. We're going to go into another section right after this.